Well, when we talked about some of the things that you wanted to talk about here on the program, I thought, I got to get this guy on because I'm going over all this list of things, and well, there's such a wide range of topics here, but it's all to make Fayette County a better place.
That's right. I've been gone for 40 years. I was gone for 40 years and came back a year ago. And I have, great memories from the 60s and 70s. I remember when Washington Courthouse was a booming town. We had RCA, we had,
There's all kinds. Yeah, we had Bud Wheel, or wasn't they here one time, or no?
Mac Tool. Mac Tool.
Mac Tool is what I was thinking of. Yeah, Armco, yeah.
NCR, if I didn't say that.
NCR, National Cash Register.
Yeah. And there was Cudahy's. They made cheese there.
Right on the corner there, where the old well is now by the railroad tracks. Where Cudahy's.
Exactly.
I remember going there with my dad getting cheese.
Oh yeah, we used to go over there and get 5-pound wheels of cheddar cheese. It was delicious.
Absolutely. Made right here in Washington Courthouse.
Yeah, exactly. And now all those things are gone. Downtown was full of businesses. We had Craig's.
Kaufman's
department store, Kaufman.
5 and Dime at the Murphy with the great candy counter,
Exactly. And there were French's Hardware, Bray's Newsstand. There were 3 jewelry stores downtown. And now, even the...
And then the restaurants. I mean, we had the Court View, we had the H&H.
Yep.
There was Gene Beatty's Pool Hall. You could have lunch there.
That's right.
There were several places downtown to grab your lunch.
I remember George would rack the balls for you.
He would rack, that's right, old George.
Rack George.
And what was amazing was watching George play gin rummy with the guys and shuffling the cards with one hand.
I've never seen him do that.
He shuffled the cards with one hand. You got to be careful because George was a card player.
Is that right?
I all my fond memories of my youth. We come to town and Dad would go play some gin rummy at Gene Beatty's place for a couple hours, and I get to hang out with some really wonderful people here in Fayette County. George, a really nice guy. Gene, of course, was a great guy, and the people that came in to play cards there were like the people who owned their own businesses here in town, and they were great people, like you said, a lot of business owners, and they were really wonderful people, and we're trying to get back to that now.
Yeah, well, I have kind of an outsider's point of view.
Yeah.
At the same time as having, been born and raised here.
But you moved away for a while and you come back.
Yeah, and half the businesses downtown, half the buildings downtown are empty. If you look up, you'll see boarded over windows with peeling paint. There are empty lots or parking lots now where buildings once stood. And you can see the backs of the buildings from the alley side, and they're in a terrible state. And, if I didn't have my roots here, if I were a passerby, I would just keep going on. I mean...
Which a lot of people have.
Yeah, well, exactly.
We don't understand how many people, say in the past 2 years, 24 months, how many people have driven through town who had maybe an idea of starting a new business, and they were actually driving through town to look and see what it was all about, and like you said, Bill, they just kept right on driving. And some other town got their business instead of this. Bill's got some great ideas. I want to touch base on a few. I like your vision to make Washington Courthouse a destination for arts, entertainment, and business, to make it a desirable place to live, to give Fayette County's best and brightest a reason to stay. I like you touching on that point because one of the things that we were talking about in this past election when we had electing new school board members was the fact that, we're getting great teachers out of college. They're coming here, they're teaching for 2 or 3 years, another school district offers them a little bit more money, and they go. We need some reasons to tell these people, okay, there's a few more bucks over there, but look, if you leave, you're going to miss out on this, this, and this, and we need something for the 20-somethings to do. We need housing for single 20-somethings, because a lot of these teachers are not married, and they don't want to they can't afford to live in a big house, but we need an apartment that's affordable for these 20-somethings, and we need something in town for them to do. And this is some of the stuff that you're talking on. One of the things, the reconstruction of the pool area. There's been a lot of ideas kicked around about what to do over there on Lyman Park Drive about the pool.
There was a $10 million bond issue 5 years ago, give or take, and it failed to pass. There's talk about reissuing the bond, or having another bond issue, because people talk about missing the pool and wanting to have a pool here. So we may have another bond issue coming up in the near future.
Well, I think what they're looking at is alternative ways. Now, what I hear kicking around right now is a splash pad / pool combination.
I haven't heard that.
That was brought up one of the city council meetings, that, part of that area there that was the old pool be used as a splash pad, and then have the other part of it being used as a smaller, but yet a pool nonetheless.
Okay, that would be good.
That way you get the best of both.
Sure.
I think we're looking into that right now, but one of the things that the city is looking into is how we're going to fund it, how we're going to upkeep it, and things of that nature. Once they get all those things ironed out, I see them doing something with that land. I think it would be a great place to have some kind of a community project there that would benefit everybody.
I agree with you there. I can envision an amphitheater in that area. Once the Army Corps of Engineers came through and cleared all that out, they opened up a wide amount of space, and we could have an amphitheater there. They have an amphitheater in Chillicothe. It's a different landscape there than we have here. They have a wonderful amphitheater in Hartford, Connecticut, in Bushnell Park, and it's basically an area for a stage with dressing rooms in the back for the performers, and that's it. It's a very small structure. It's a very nice structure, and they have an annual jazz festival there in July of every year, and a month-long Monday night jazz series, and they attract hundreds of thousands of people there every year. I've made a point to go a number of years to the Hartford Jazz Festival. I went last year, or rather this year. Well, I went last year too, and it's just a wonderful experience. That's the kind of thing that will, I believe, can attract people to come to Washington Courthouse. You could have not just jazz festivals, but you could also have, bluegrass or country or blues or rock and roll, or you can do small stage performances, Shakespeare in the Park sort of thing. Steve Schultz, one of the council members, is talking about having a Four Seasons building there that can be leased out or rented out to the public for receptions, banquets, meetings, and so on and so forth. So between the amphitheater, the building for public events,
right,
and the swimming area that you're talking about, we could do a heck of a lot with that area right there.
I think another idea that you had, here about the maintaining the access for the creek for fishing. I think that our walking path has done that. I like your idea of maybe landscaping the creek all the way from Iman Park all the way till it leaves town over by Christmas Park. I mean, as it goes by the high school football field there, Garner Park, and all of that, and it goes down through downtown, across underneath Court Street, and all of that, maybe having that old landscape real nice, because we got the walking path there.
The walking path is a very nice beginning.
It is a beginning, but, I think we need to take it one step further, or maybe alongside the walking path, do a little landscaping, do a little flower planting, do a little maybe have so many feet this organization takes care of, and then the next so many feet this organization takes care of, and you can plant and take care of and have master gardeners involved in it. But I do like that. You did have brought that up, and one of your things that you wanted to talk about was having some landscaping done around the entire creek.
I think we could go even further than that. I think we could develop the creek front all the way through downtown, similar to what they've done in San Antonio, Texas. They have what they call the Riverwalk.
The Riverwalk, yeah.
The San Antonio River is not much bigger than Paint Creek, if any at all.
Well, no, not when it's down through San Antonio. I mean, really, when you go to the Riverwalk, you can, almost throw a sand pebble across the
You
river.
could.
Yeah, throw a feather across it, because it's not that wide. But my thing is, with the development that's already there, I mean, when you think about the creek front, you got Hickson's Towing there, you got the car lot there, you got Kroger's there, You've got, let's see, O'Reilly's. You've got the car wash. You've got the fuel depot there. On both sides of the creek, almost all the way through, you've got something that you would have to tear down and redevelop if you were going to make it like the Riverwalk, where it had shops and whatnot to go through. But I do see what you're saying. Something could be done with it in certain areas. You talked about the cemetery. I've had so many people talk about the cemetery in behind Dairy Queen, about how what its appearance is. That cemetery is where our founding fathers are.
Yes.
That cemetery has people buried in it that served in the Revolutionary War. It has people buried in it that served in the War of 1812. The only thing that I would say that probably needs to be done is if we could possibly do some research and maybe redo some headstones. When they put the sandstone headstones up, the wind damage over the last 200 years has 208 years has really taken a toll. And
You can barely read some of them.
Right.
Many of them are flat on their back and broken.
Right.
And I can't help but imagine that there are a number of graves in there that are unmarked, or the headstone has just been lying on the ground so long that the ground has swallowed it up.
Right, swallowed it all up, and the sandstone is just dissolved.
Mhm.
I mean, they didn't make them out of granite back then like we do now. They made them out of sandstone.
Right, that's what was available and was
That's
easy to work with.
Easy to work with. It
Yeah.
carved really nice and
Mhm.
easy. But yeah, I'd like the idea though. Maybe if we could get somebody in there that could do some research and find out who is who.
It's really a
And-
shame to let that cemetery lie there in such a state. It's
We-
on the National Historic Register.
Right, and we have this wonderful Memorial Day service there every year, where the courthouse band shows up and the honor guard is there, and we have this great Memorial Day service. So that is one thing that's on your list that I really would like to see somebody grab the bull by the horns on and say, okay, let's research this, and maybe let's get some new headstones. Maybe one of the monument companies in the area could give us a cut rate on making some new monuments, and we could put some new markers up so that we know who is who in there. That is a good.
That's certainly a possibility.
That is a possibility. We talked about renovating or demolishing the children's home out at the airport. I think the county commissioners has looked into it. If I'm not mistaken, the cost of renovation was going to be so much that it really wasn't worth doing, and I think what's planned on is having it demolished. But I would like to see some kind of a flower garden put in its place, maybe a flagpole or something, and have a monument put there that says, here's where the Fayette County Children's Home stood from this date to this date, and here's how many children that went through.
Yeah, it's a real tragedy that building has been allowed to deteriorate into such a condition that it's not practical to restore it. I'm guessing that building was erected between the 1870s and the 1890s.
I'd say you're right there, yeah.
And those buildings are becoming fewer and farther between.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of thing that we need to take care to preserve. They're not making any more buildings like that.
No, they're not. And you know, we moved to in order to make way for the Sonic coming into town. We moved what was the second oldest house in Washington, Courthouse, and moved it out of the way so it could remain.
I'm glad they did that.
Me too. I would hate to see that house get tore down, especially for a fast food place to come in. But still, I'm glad that they did that. I think that the children's home thing, there's a bunch of that would like to see it restored. There's a bunch of people that say tear down. It's one of those 50-50 things, which side of the fence are you on? However, you do hit a good nail on the head here when you said that the museum needs a coat of paint.
It needs a facelift.
It does. And what I'm going to ask right now is, there's anybody out there that's got, if you want to make a difference in Fayette County and you want to preserve history in Fayette County, in your will, leave enough money to repaint the building, and that would be fantastic. Thank you very much, because it's going to take a little bit of money to do that. I know what their first priority was: get the windows fixed so that we could get the HVAC system installed so that our clothing and our books would stop deteriorating.
Yeah, first things first.
First things first. Now it's time to pretty up the outside.
Right. People passing through Washington Courthouse don't know what's going on inside of it.
Exactly.
They see it from the outside, and that's where they get their perception.
And you know, how well do you take care of your stuff? That's another thing to think of. Now, you talked about the cannon out front. Now, the cannon is a subject with me because, number one, it's a German cannon from World War I.
It is.
And it was sitting outside of the courthouse. And the county commissioners didn't want it. So they moved it down in front of the museum. Now, this cannon has no connection to Fayette County whatsoever. It was not captured. It was not captured by a regiment from Fayette County. It was not made. It was made in Germany. It wasn't made in Fayette County. It has no connection except for the fact is it's been in the county for as long as, like, forever.
And there were a lot of members of Fayette County who served in the First World War.
Exactly, but that cannon has no connection to them either. Now, it has been painted.
It may have been fired at them.
It has been painted a gazillion times. You made mention here that it's painted over with rust coming through the paint. Yes, it is. With there being no connection to Fayette County, I very civilly one day at a board meeting for the Fayette County Historical Society brought it up that when we were trying to get the money raised to seal the building and get the HVAC, I said, hey, how about we sell the cannon for scrap? Because, you know, scrap prices are pretty high. It's got no connection with Fayette County whatsoever. Oh, my Lord. There's only 4 of these cannons ever made in existence, and we got one. And then, well, why? Why did we get one? Well, anyway, the board said nix on the idea of scrapping it. So you're always going to look at it. I've run up the idea with them that the team that wins the football game between Courthouse and Trace gets to paint the cannon in their colors. And they didn't like that idea because, you know, there'd be somebody that served in World War I see that and think that it's, you know, disgraceful. Well, I don't really think that we have anybody left from World War I.
I think you're right about that.
I think they're all gone. And you know, what a way, though, you could get the cannon painted every year that way, you know, and we could have a big show. But anyway, they didn't like that idea. So every idea, Bill, that I've ever had about the cannon out in front of the museum
has been shot down.
Shot down in
no
flames.
Pun intended.
No pun intended. Shot down in flame. The city is really doing a good job on your next point. You talk about taking down some of the small condemned houses on some of the lots. The city is doing a really good job about abating those properties and getting them tore down and getting them taken care of.
So we now have the Fayette County Land Bank, which was formed through our legislation this past April or May. They went into business.
Right.
I talked to Brandon Weed a couple of weeks ago, and I've also spoken with Rod Bryant, and Rod tells me there are between 400 and 500 of these homes in Washington Courthouse alone. That doesn't count what's in the county and in the villages in the county.
Right.
As of a couple of weeks ago when I talked to Brandon, they said that they've acquired and 5 properties, and it takes approximately 6 to 9 months to go through the entire process. And basically, these properties are in a state of deterioration. They're unfit for being inhabited, and most, if not all of them, are in arrears on their property taxes. So they're working with the city solicitor and acquiring these properties by forgiving the tax
Right.
to the owner. They're offering the properties to the neighbors at their legal cost. The only thing I would do different is I just split the property down the middle, give the half to the property on the left and half to the property on the right, give them a tax abatement on the additional value of the property until such time as they sell the property.
Right.
But, you know, they're doing great things. They're just beginning to get started, and I wish the Fayette County Land Bank all the luck in the world.
Yeah, no kidding. And that's one of the things I think that
The Reds are on the radio. This is the Cincinnati Reds pregame show, presented by your Cincinnati Northern Kentucky Honda dealers and brought to you in part by McDonald's. I'm loving it. Go Reds. PNC Bank, proud sponsor of the Cincinnati Reds. PNC Bank, for the achiever in you. GTN Food Group. Let's create great dishes together. GTN. Geico, saving you money on car insurance has been Geico's home run for over 75 years. Get a quote today with a proud partner of MLB at Geico.com. Geico, so easy a caveman can do it. First Financial Bank. Take another step on the path to success. Member FDIC. GoGoMeds.com. Your new prescription for life. The Reds pregame show is also brought to you by
The Cincinnati Reds on 1250 WCHO. Brought to you exclusively by Van Dyke